Hi, this is John Lalonde, and this is my Week 6 submittal, which is an oral assignment on a divine and supernatural light for expository preaching. A divine and supernatural light was preached by Jonathan Edwards, a name that is synonymous with the American Great Awakening of the early 18th century. He was born to Reverend Timothy and Esther Edwards, who were Puritan evangelicals, on October 5th in 1703, raised in East Windsor, Connecticut, until he entered Yale College in 1716 at the age of 13. He received his graduate degree in 1722 from Yale University. He's known for synthesizing his Calvinistic theology with Isaac Newton's physics and with Locke's psychology, which is sprinkled throughout his sermons. He took his first pastorate, which was a church his grandfather had pastored in Northampton, Massachusetts, in 1726, and he immediately began to be well known as an effective revivalist preacher. He was a passionate defender of moral and ethical purity, and he forcibly challenged the rampant immorality and the loose ethical standards of the American frontier in the early 1700s. In 1741, he preached what Americans now almost universally acclaim to be the most famous American sermon, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Edwards was known for writing out all of his sermons and standing in the pulpit and in a monotone voice reading his sermons from the page, word by word. The context for the sermon is Peter's declaration in Matthew 16 that Jesus is the Christ, and then Jesus' response to that statement. The entire sermon is built on this passage as Edwards determines the reality of a spiritual and divine light imparted to the soul of a man by God, and how it differs from any other light that may be received by natural means. He uses an inductive form for his sermon, although the basic subject is clearly outlined in the beginning of the passage, even enumerated. The big ideas only come in the summary of the message at the close. I have identified the main idea of the sermon and how it was developed. The subject is there such a thing as a spiritual and divine light that is imparted to the soul of a man by God? It cannot be obtained by natural means. Edwards then deliberately delineates what he means and does not mean by a divine light. He shows what it is by also showing what it is not, how it is given immediately by God, and how the truth of the doctrine stands the test. Only in the summary does Edwards tie the pieces together, and the pieces are: the excellence of the divine light is the knowledge of God and Christ. The light gives us a view that is divine and incapable of us knowing by any natural means, and this light, and only this light, will bring the soul into a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. Finally, the light has the fruit of holiness in the life of the individual. One noteworthy aspect of the sermon is one that Edwards is famous for. He does a masterful job of systematically laying out his argument, to the point that many of today's listeners would probably grow very weary of Edwards' sermons and would lose the big idea because they couldn't wait for the finish. Would I recommend this to a classmate? Yes. Although I struggled with the sermon to pull out the ideas, I would recommend it to others. Edwards mixes his psychology with the scriptures in a way that's difficult to understand for today's reader. I think it stands as a challenge to our ability to comprehend an old-style English and a sophisticated argument in a sermon today, but it's worth your while.